Good morning. Thanks for tuning into the Kehillat Shari Torah Halacha Review. We're Wednesday, September 30th, and we are still in the middle of reviewing the laws of Sukkot. It's the custom to say the bracha Leishev Basukah, Asher Kitchanu Mitzvosav, V'tzivanu Leishev Basukah. Thank you, God, who's hallowed us, sanctified us with His commandments, and commanded us to dwell in the sukkah. So customarily, that's said when you eat a regular meal. So we have to have a whole conversation about what a regular meal is. Really, that's a meal that's either that should be both eaten to the point where you're satisfied, where you feel full, and also where bread is eaten, where you wash your hands beforehand. Al natilas yadayim, make hamotzi on bread, make leishev basukah beforehand, kiddush if it's Yom Tov or Shabbos. And then eat a meal, and after you say Birkat HaMazon. So that's the time to say Leishev Basukah. It's customary to say Hamotzi first, Leishev Basukah, because we usually say the more accustomed bracha, the more frequently recited bracha first, if there's more than one bracha to say. And then you start to eat. Everything that you eat in the sukkah the entire day, and whatever you do while you're staying there, even if you sleep in the sukkah. We spoke the other day that most people in Toronto really don't do that these days. Whatever you do when you're staying there is connected to the bracha that you said before eating your meal. And so that bracha you said, Leishev Basukah, God's commanded us to dwell in the sukkah, includes everything else you'll do there. So real mitzvah actions, like let's say you daven there. There are some days where we're not going to have a minyan here in Shul, so people will be davening on their own, and that can be done very well in the sukkah. It's a great place to do that. But also eating a meal, okay, there's Kiddush, there's singing, there's Birkat HaMazon, there's certainly some mitzvah aspects, and in fact, the whole eating of a Yom Tov or Shabbat meal is a mitzvah in itself. But let's say you're sitting and you're talking to your friend on the phone. Let's say you're having a cup of tea. Things that seem like pretty regular everyday activities, reading your mail. You're fully allowed and actually heartily encouraged. When the mail comes, take the mail out in the sukkah, sit in the sukkah, open it up, look through, read your letters, write back to friends if you do that. If there is such a thing anymore, take your computer, whatever you need to do. Everything you do in the sukkah is a mitzvah. Because we're supposed to live in the sukkah like we live in our house. If you did not leave the sukkah to go to work or to the shul between meals, since once you said the bracha, you don't have to repeat it at the next meal. So if you're there all day, the one bracha continues throughout the whole day. Even if during the entire week of Sukkot you would dwell in the sukkah, eating, studying, praying, and sleeping there, you would need to say the bracha only one time, because your thoughts were never diverted from the sukkah. You were there the entire time. There were, in Soviet Russia, some people who lived in a sukkah the entire 8 days of the holiday, on top of someone's barn or somewhere they managed to make a sukkah, and they stayed there because leaving would cause them to be in danger of being detected, risk of being detected. Others left, all kinds of different stories that took place in those days. Even if you left the sukkah temporarily with the intention of returning immediately, it's not considered a diversion. Let's say you went in to use the facilities. You do not need to say the bracha at the following meal. However, if you went out and you went to work, you went to do something else, you went to shul, or for similar reasons, if you went into your house to learn for a while, or to do something else which is time-consuming, that's called a hefsek. That's called a distraction, or you've diverted your mind from the mitzvah. And when you come back, you say the bracha Leishev Basukah again. If you leave the sukkah in the middle of your meal to go to a friend's sukkah and you eat a quantity of food that must be eaten in the sukkah, in other words, a kebeya, then you should say Leishev Basukah there also. So you go to your next door neighbor down the block. Make a new bracha there. If you forgot to say Leishev Basukah, let's say you got so caught up in the challah and the honey and the wine and everything else, you forgot to make the bracha Leishev Basukah. What do? You say the mitzvah, say the bracha right then and there, because again, everything you do in the sukkah is a mitzvah. So right in the middle of the meal, the next mouthful is going to be a mitzvah. Might as well make a bracha over it. Women are exempt from the mitzvah of sukkah. Nevertheless, they are certainly encouraged to sit in the sukkah if they like, and to say the bracha. Children are also exempt, and if a boy is 5 years and older, his father should train him to eat in the sukkah. If the father is not home, the child should not be permitted to eat outside the sukkah. Rather, people who are taking care of him should encourage him to eat in the sukkah. A person who is ill, person who's not healthy, and those attending to that person are exempt from the mitzvah of sukkah. So if someone is truly not well, if they're hospitalized, God forbid, or some other situation where they can't go to a sukkah, they are not obligated, they're exempt from the mitzvah. If the patient is not critically ill, in other words, it's a chronic condition, but not critically ill, the attendants, the people taking care of that person, are exempt only when the patient needs them. If he is critical ill, if that person is ill to the point of endangering life, the attendants are exempt even when they are not needed so urgently. No one should know from such things. Everybody should be healthy and enjoy a wonderful Yom Tov. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.